On day 4, again, God speaks, and he says, "Let there be lights in the firmament. These divide the day from the night, and for signs, seasons, days, and years. And these also give light to the earth." 2 great lights are mentioned among these lights: the sun, Gadol, which means greater light, which rules by day, and the moon, Katan, the lesser light, which rules by night. And God called it Tov, good. On day 5, the waters are now commanded to bring forth life, Sheretz. They are swimming or moving, swarming things, which reminds me of other swarms that Jeff Rutt talked about. And fowl, Uf, to fly above the earth and in the heaven. These are the great varieties of small marine life and the insects and the birds. God created the world bara. He shaped whales and every living creature that moves, all after their own kind. Again, taxonomic law. And it was all good. Day 6. Now remember that each day begins at evening. Therefore, this first creative work might well have been done in the evening. Land animals appeared at God's command on day 6, when he said, "Let the earth bring forth the living creature after its kind, cattle, and the creeping thing, and the beast of the earth after its kind," and it was so. Now on day 6 at dawn, God has spent 5.5 days speaking and fashioning the elements of our world. We now have dry land surrounded by seas, heaven, and the stars, ruled by day by the sun and by night by the moon. The seas teem with fish, and large animals and birds and insects fill the air above. The earth's virgin soil bears the weight of mammals, reptiles, and bugs. If you subscribe to the day equals 1,000 years, then we're about 5,500 years into the first week. If you believe in a literal 24-hour day, then we're at 5.5 days and counting thereabouts. So it might have been at dawn on day 6 when God said, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish and the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth on the earth." And God said, "Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, genetic inheritance, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of the tree yielding fruit. To you it shall be for meat." They were vegetarians. "And to every beast of the earth," which is sad, "and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, every green herb for meat." And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and he said it was me'od tov. It was exceedingly good. On day 7, God rests. Is the creation week a literal 7 days, or is it an unknown length of time? Perhaps it's actually 7,000 years or even longer. We're told in Scripture that with God a day is as 1,000 years, but this could be another way of saying a day with God is like a man's day. Whatever the time period, is not like a man's day, sorry. Whatever the time period, God chose to enjoy his creation, and he rested, and he considered it all exceedingly good. Okay. So where do we stand at the end of this remarkable week? We have an abyss, perhaps, or an underground prison that might be called or involved in darkness, and along with the waters that pre-existed at the time of Genesis 1-2. We have a divine creator who either talks to himself or else joins in the creative process with others when he says, "Let us." Now this may refer to the triune nature of God, or it may refer to the divine counsel as proposed by renowned scholar Dr. Michael S. Heiser. Certainly Psalm 82 can be interpreted as representing a heavenly meeting that took place where some of the Elohim were judged. The phrase, "you shall die like men," seems to imply that these Elohim did not die before this point. So does this group of little gods have anything to do with the darkness that we explored earlier? Is this first judgment of its kind, or did it occur once before Genesis 1:1? As you can tell, this talk is as much about asking questions as it is about answering them. For centuries before, perhaps millennia, men and women of science have struggled to unseat God by removing him from any creation account. The predominant theory involves seeding from an external source, such as a meteor, that crashes, leaving its amino acids behind. But the question remains, how did the amino acids get on the meteor? Science grasps at any straw that will reshape Homo sapiens into a self-creative, recursive being, and ultimately into a self-creating, self-reproducing God. As such, the proverbial brass ring in theoretical games would be the discovery of the perpetual motion creation machine that spits out humans based upon humans, and that is itself human. In his runaway bestseller, A Brief History of Time, Stephen Hawking reached the arresting conclusion that if we discover a complete theory, the unified field theory, it would be the ultimate triumph of human reason. For then we should know the mind of God. It's an odd statement for someone who is so diametrically opposed to including God in any creation account. Hawking aspires to know the mind of God, and as such echoes the Gnostic and New Age claim that we can all become as God. As a side note, A Brief History of Time was published in 1991, the very same year that President George Bush Sr. declared a new world order. In his most recent book, The Grand Design, Hawking concludes that God is no longer even necessary. To understand the universe at the deepest level, says Hawking, we need to know not only how the universe behaves, but why. Well, Dr. Hawking poses an interesting question, I think. Why does the universe exist? By posing this question, he has opened up an even bigger can of worms than asking how, but by asking why. Science implies the need for something or someone that set it into motion for a reason. Hawking believes theoretical physics to be the only true approach to cosmology and declares philosophy is dead because it failed to keep up with the latest developments, particularly developments in physics. Instead, Hawking seeks his own metaphysical answers to why with an approach called M theory. The M theory and that Hawking espouses and other M proponents, they believe it possible to answer the deepest level of philosophical questions purely within the realm of science and without resorting to God. And these brave new answers hinge on a candidate for a theory that they call M theory. Unfortunately, no one seems to know what M really stands for. If you ask them, they'll give you different answers. It could be miracle, it could be mystery, it could even be master. Or if Benjamin Creme were consulted, he would say it means Maitreya. Slide 25 is gone. It disappeared. Hawking and his peers negate any need for faith, and yet they hold unbounded faith in their own imaginations, conjuring up their own little gods who will eventually die like men. So we have God's account and we have man's wishes to change that account. Let's look beyond the macro universe that we can see and sense and move into the inner realm of God's creation, the foundational pieces of life itself. According to Stephen Hawking's recollections in A Brief History of Time, a prominent thinker was giving a lecture on cosmology when a little old lady stood up to contend the scientist's conclusions. Essentially, the old woman claimed, you know, the American Indians had it right. The earth rests on the back of a turtle. Now, the scientist, who some claim was Bertrand Russell, asked politely, ma'am, what then is beneath the turtle, holding that turtle up? Well, the woman appeared a little perturbed, but she smiled and said, well, another turtle. She looked pleased with her answer, but the lecturer persisted, and ma'am, underneath that second turtle, what do you say is there? Another turtle, the woman said, her voice not nearly as pleasant now. Seeing the presenter begin to speak again, the woman refused to even let him ask, "Sir, there's another turtle beneath that one. In fact, it's turtles all the way down." Knowing now that God himself designed matter in its current form and that his design reaches to the very molecular, atomic, and subatomic levels, let's take a look at God's dirt. Though the previous cartoon, which we missed, there was a great little cartoon up there about turtles all the way down. We'll get into something like a turtle tail.